Hi there, I'm Square, and let's talk about anime. So let's start off this episode with a very quick summary, just to give us a little reminder of what happened here. Then we're going to go into those juicy details and thoughts and theories. So let's go. Episode 3 of Yashahime. We pick up where we left off in the battle with Mistress Three Eyes. Toa is able to create a demon-powered light sword thing, and this sword is able to damage Mistress Three Eyes. But Setsuna is the one that has to deliver the final blow. At this point, Toa approaches Setsuna as a sister, but Setsuna doesn't seem to remember her at all and becomes aggressive. But they're interrupted by the demon Hitokun, who latches onto Toa and overtakes her. Setsuna then just goes ham on Toa and they fight while Miroha tries to interject and talk them down. Before the fight can have an ultimate conclusion, the demon leaves Toa and attaches to her sister Mei. Toa steps in and stops Setsuna from drawing her weapon and removing the demon from Mei's face. Setsuna then reveals another ability, Moon of the Resting Moth, putting everyone to sleep before dispelling the demon. We then end the episode in Sota's house. He's taken in the 2 other girls for the night, and we leave off with them discussing what their next move should be. How will Setsuna and Miroha get back home? I'm really impressed with the writers here and how they're able to keep our attention. They just reveal just enough. We don't get any big exposition dumps, and the little exposition we get is just spliced in between action scenes. It's very well done. So while a bit has been revealed and our palates have been tempted by the amuse-bouche of answers, there's still a lot left. One thing that really stood out to me this time is the detail they went into with the Bone Eater's Well and its connection to the sacred tree. Thinking back on the original Inuyasha series, I'm kind of surprised they didn't go into the details of the sacred tree before. It's always been this item, this subject that's done multiple things. It's what Kagome would recognize on her property that survived from the feudal era to Japan modern day. It's the tree that Inuyasha was attached to. It's just constantly coming back in the story. And we know it has something. It has power, something. It's the sacred tree, but we still don't know what that means. Other than its power can be spread around through its wood, because the Bone Eater's Well was made from the wood of the sacred tree, which is why the Bone Eater's Well has the magical powers to it. The fact that the demon Ninnoku is fused with the sacred tree now through its roots, he's able to manipulate the well and manipulate time a bit. It's such a great idea for the sequel series. I love how the new writers use that one-shot lost chapter after Inuyasha and stretched that story. They expanded on it into this whole thing that could possibly be an arc. They're building on the original story. They're building on Inuyasha. It's not just them making something up in the world. They're expanding what we already know. In this episode, the differences between Toa and Setsuna are so much more striking. So we only got a glimpse of Setsuna in the last episode with her interactions with Miroha and Kohaku Hisue, but we didn't get to see that much of her. But what we saw here, it shows a very serious, professional, should I say, type of character who takes her demon slaying very seriously, to the point of seeming to be willing to slice a demon out of a little girl's face. I mean, I don't know if she would have been gentle about it, but it didn't sound like it from the language, which is probably why Toa stepped in. Just the fact that she's willing to go that far. Oof. And the way she's just developed into this seemingly cold and calculated young woman, you can only imagine what she went through as a child. I mean, I guess she could only imagine what she went through as a child, because apparently she's completely lost her memories of childhood. We're given a little bit of information on the dream butterfly, whose curse makes it so you can't sleep, but not only that, you lose your childhood memories, which would explain why Setsuna doesn't remember Toa. Would it also explain her personality shift? I mean, did she just kind of appear one day, just this empty husk, because she doesn't have any past memories? I'm not sure how to take this, and I'm curious if they can get their memories back. It seems like that's the direction they're going to try to go in, maybe like a first arc type of thing. It seems like a very good motivation for Toa to go to the past if she is able to. Another big development, we finally saw one of the girls' parents. We got to see Sesshomaru. I mean, it was just in a flashback and was just for a few seconds. He didn't say anything. We just kind of saw him carrying them away. But that would make it the latest point in the timeline that one of the parents has been shown on screen. So if you saw my other video on the timeline, I think the last time we saw anybody was before the twins were born. This was in episode 1 of Yashahime, the 6 months after Inuyasha ended. That's the last time we saw Kagome, the last time we saw Inuyasha, the last time we saw Sesshomaru, the last time we saw any of them. So we don't know what happened between when that started and the 20 years in between to when Yashahime begins. But now we can move that timeline a little forward. Sesshomaru was at least around when the girls were born and a bit after. We didn't really get a good look at the girls when they were in his arms. They seem to be really bundled up. The sizing, they appear pretty young, toddlers maybe. Perhaps they're 1-2 years old, something like that, which would mean that feudal era equivalent to modern day time would be what, 2005, 2006, maybe 2007? And that would give us our latest date for parents still existing, I guess. Moroha seemed to know of Sesshomaru. She didn't seem to know of her family connection. I mean, he'd be, what, her half uncle, I guess? But she knew of his existence. She knows, she speaks of him. So he's got to exist or have existed at some point. There's so much more that needs to be figured out. And a lot of it does center around Moroha now. We've gotten a little bit of information of Toa and Setsuna, but she's a bit of a mystery. But the more we're seeing of her and the more that's being revealed of her, the more I love her. She is still best girl for me. I really love how she came across in this episode. Before this point, we saw her spunky, seeming kind of impulsive, maybe a little brash. But this episode shows there's a bit more to her. I just love how she seems to be this walking encyclopedia of demon knowledge, which would make sense for a bounty hunter. You can't exactly Google that stuff on the fly. You'd have to know what kind of demon to expect, what they look like, maybe weaknesses, stuff like that. She's just rattling off stuff as soon as she sees a demon. It's pretty interesting. I really like that dynamic they're giving to her character. It also seems that she not only has that great sense of smell, a la her dad, she also seems to be able to sense demons, perhaps at the level of a priestess or even better. I don't know, it's really neat to see Moroha's abilities kind of a mishmash of both of her parents and maybe more, maybe greater. I do have a little bit of a theory here. It's kind of weird. We'll have to jump to Kagome and Inuyasha first. So, we finally got a mention of Kagome and Inuyasha. So that means they must not be completely forgotten by everyone. Kaede spends some time with Kohaku and Hisue, dumping a bit of exposition, but not too much. So they speak of Inuyasha and Kagome, and Kohaku and Hisue seem like they know of them at least. But why don't they recognize Moroha? Like, they know them. I don't know. Moroha's a bit of a mystery. The more is being revealed of her, the more intrigued I am. I mean, she's currently in the modern day now. She got pulled through the Rainbow Corridor. She's in the modern day. And now she's met her grandmother, Kagome's mom, her great-grandfather, Kagome's grandpa, her uncle, Sota. But she didn't seem to have any recognition or even pause with them. They, on the other hand, seem to recognize her, or at least the Kagome in her, which was a really, really sweet moment. It got me all like smiles and stuff while I was watching. But does that mean Moroha was never told of Kagome's family or Kagome's past, her original home, the original time she came from? Does she not know she has a connection to the modern day at all? I suppose there's some reasonable reasons why you wouldn't tell a child these things. Maybe Kagome didn't think it was necessary since, Kagome couldn't travel back to the time, so why bring it up? Or maybe it's just too sad of a feeling, thinking about her family never being able to see them again. Maybe Kagome was trying to hide that part of her so she and Moroha wouldn't be a target for other demons who may think she has greater power because she's just kind of an other in that era. Or, and this is just a thought, a theory, maybe Moroha was separated from her parents really, really early on, so they never really got a chance to explain. Moroha mentions her friends who are bounty hunters, so obviously she isn't alone. Maybe she has a guild or a group or tribe or something she hangs out with or goes back to. Or maybe, stick with me here, maybe she was actually raised by bounty hunters. Okay, this is kind of a weird theory. It's just a thought I had and I wanted to explore it a little bit with everyone here. So take it with a grain of salt. I might be completely off base. But considering Moroha's age, being so young, I can't imagine Kagome would let her out by herself to be a bounty hunter of all things. That's quite a dangerous job. Not to mention, Moroha seems pretty comfortable with the bounty hunter thing. She's super knowledgeable of demons. She seems really capable in combat and almost makes bounty hunting seem routine. She's relaxed, waiting for her mark, knowing off the top of her head the cost of each demon, casually collecting their carcasses and skulls to probably turn in for the bounty. She's completely unfazed by this routine and doesn't come across as inexperienced or even a bit nervous. So just how long has she been a bounty hunter? She's only 14. Also, considering how protective Inuyasha is of Kagome, I would imagine he'd be super protective of his daughter. Would he just let her go gallivanting out fighting against crazy demons? Taking all of these thoughts into account, I'd say she'd have to be a bounty hunter for at least a year, probably more. I mean, to be this practiced, to have established friends, to be this knowledgeable, comfortable, it has to be a good amount of time, right? So what, starting at 13, 12, 11, 10 even? Is she like a Pokemon trainer going out on her own? Next, I can't help but think of her mannerisms. She doesn't exactly come across as a princess with a lot of poise and grace. And her manner of speaking is rather informal. Seems to be like she chops off words, talks a little slang, is just kind of like loud and boisterous as she's talking. She also doesn't seem to know how to act or how to be bothered to act in mixed company. Like, you kind of see this when she comes out like full nude after taking a bath to Sota and his wife and daughter, and she's just like, yeah, what's up? She's almost brutish in her mannerisms. I think Kagome would instill perhaps a little bit of modern day modesty in the girl, but maybe she never got the chance. Maybe for some reason, Moroha ended up on her own as a child. Maybe she was eventually found by some bounty hunters who, instead of taking her as a bounty, took pity on her because she's a little girl and freaking adorable and took her in. So maybe she was raised by bounty hunters and grew her knowledge and skills with them, resulting in this capable, spunky, but super smart and strong character she is now. This would also explain why nobody knows about her, since she wouldn't have been raised around any of the main Inuyasha casts. Okay, I know I could be way off here, but it's an interesting thing to think about, no? We haven't seen Moroha as a child yet, so maybe? Well, I guess we'll have to wait for the next episode for more. Plus, Kikyo? Maybe there's a lot of questions hanging in the air. So let's do that YouTube thing. And I would love if you would like and subscribe and comment. I've been replying to all the comments I've been getting. There was so much support in my last video, and thank you so much for that. It's so motivating to know people are watching what I'm making and enjoying it. Please share the videos around. I'm a very new channel, so if you like me, maybe other people will. Word of mouth is powerful. Okay, I'm gonna stop begging now. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you all again, and please have an artsy day.